The fifth false concept of Christ is that Jesus lived solely, continually, entirely out of his deity. This is complicated. Let me try and unpack this for you in a moment. Just hang in there. This first sermon is going to be the most complicated. The rest are going to be more practical, okay? So come back, and bring your friends and bring your enemies. Who knows? We might even fix that for you. So bring them all, okay? So when it comes to Jesus, he is fully God, fully man. And the thought is that while he was on the earth, he lived totally out of his divinity, not out of his humanity. And it's basically like this. Well, Jesus is God. I'm not God. Jesus does things, but he's God. I can't do them. So Jesus was a virgin. I'm not God. Jesus forgave people. I'm not God. Jesus was tempted and he overcame temptation, but I'm not God. I'm just a person. Jesus is God. I can't do what Jesus did because I don't have what Jesus had. The result is that the life of Jesus is one to be admired, but not one to be experienced. And this comes out of ancient Greek thinking and philosophy. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Epimenides, Alexander the great canon of Greek philosophy is based on a concept called dualism. And that is that the physical body is bad, but the immaterial soul is good. So what you do in the body is bad, and the goal is for the body to die and the soul to be unleashed from the prison house of the body and to become a spirit being. And so they had a real hard time accepting that God, who was entirely spirit, also took upon himself human flesh and a body. And this infected and affected some early Christian teaching. And as a result, Christians have always felt the humanity of Jesus was a little bit complicated and that the earthiness of Jesus was perhaps irreverent. So let me ask you some questions. Did Jesus eat? Yeah, he did. Did he get tired? He took a nap, right? Could Jesus, maybe he got the flu. Maybe he got heartburn. So we say that's irreverent. No, that's human. That's human. It's not a sin to be human. Humans do sin, but it's not a sin to be human. And so what happens is, in a fearfulness of portraying the full humanity of Jesus, Christian art tends to make him not so human. So many of the paintings of baby Jesus, he doesn't look that human. I mean, how many of you got a kid? Your kid doesn't look like that. Your kid's not like, with a halo, right? I'm here to command the nations. I love babies. I've had 5. Most of mine, they have a tooth, drool, a booger, crooked hair, and they're like a sprinkler. Every hole has fluids flying out of it. That's what babies are like, right? How many of your baby doesn't look like that? And if they do, sleep with one eye open. That's a weird kid. That's a weird kid. Okay? So Christian art tends to depict Jesus as less than human. And then at the turn of the 20th century, a man named Thomas Edison invented something called the film camera, right? Movies, reel-to-reel movies. He was a Christian, tried to give the patent to his church, and they rejected it, couldn't think of a need for it. Imagine that. Okay? And then what happens is 7 of the first 10 movies that are made, reel-to-reel movies, they have the word passion in the title because they're about the life of Jesus. One of the most influential was by a Christian, Cecil B. DeMille. I think it was the movie King of Kings that he released in 1927. This is a snapshot of that film. Jesus doesn't look human, right? He just doesn't. He's got an angelic glow, an aura. He sort of hovers. He's more like a Scooby-Doo episode, right? You're like, ruh-roh. I mean, he doesn't look fully human. From that moment, for roughly the next 40 years, films that depicted Jesus up until the countercultural revolution of the 1960s, they depicted Jesus more like an aura than a full human being. Okay? And so we think, and I'll just say this too, Isaiah says that he had no beauty or majesty that we should be attracted to him. What Isaiah was prophesying is that Jesus would look normal. And a lot of people, they don't know, even when Jesus is walking in the earth, they can't figure out who he is. Let me ask you this. If he looked like this, do you think more people would have got it? Which one's Jesus? I don't know. The nuclear one is glowing. He's like a nightlight. I don't know, maybe him.